Okay, so now that the top is smooth, I'm going to go ahead and mark off marker. Okay, right there. Now I took my router out of the router table. Right, there it is, nice. And the base is nice and square. It's good for doing router bowls too. Right? But I need to find the midpoint because I will be putting in one of these clamps. These edge clamps. Right? Just make a nice mark. Witness mark. Right? Boom. Okay. So now I can just route a nice straight line, right? And I'll route down as far as I can go. This won't go all the way through. It'll go down a good bit. I'll be able to clean up the rest pretty easy with a handsaw, and then I'll flush trim it. I'm going to flip this over. Right? So I can route with the bearing. I don't have a top mounted bit, bearing bit. So I will be using this one. Make sure. There we go. And I'll route this flush. It's nice and flush. And what I'll do now is I'll round over these corners, right, with the belt sander. And I'll just make a nice gentle curve, as well as clean this up a little, though it's pretty good from the router, I'd have to say. But I want to round these sharp corners. Whew, that 36 grit's a little too aggressive, but we'll get there. Okay, I switched to the 120, and it's a lot less aggressive, but does a good job. Not bad. Pretty good. I'm going to just go ahead and do the other side. No point in showing that. That's pretty much the same as this. I'm just going to go ahead and do it to the other end. Okay, what I have here is the wheel assembly. In my small shop, I need to be able to move pretty much anything around. So what I needed to do is a way to roll it. Now I could easily just stick casters on the bottom, but the problem is I really want this to also be very stable, like my workbench. I need it to not be able to move when I'm in position. So basically I have hinge assemblies here, right? This piece, when I pull on this string, it'll bring up these two pieces, allowing this bottom piece to flip up, dropping the entire cabinet now down on its main legs. And all the weight will be supported with the main legs. When I want to go move the cabinet again, I basically pick the cabinet up, pick the thing up. This will drop into place, right? And now I can roll it to wherever I need to and then drop it back down. Pretty simple, but yet good, really good to move stuff around. In the future, I might put a system like this actually on my workbench. It might be nice. This thing's heavy to move around, and something like this will still give me this solid support, but yet the ability to move it. So I got to go ahead and do the other side. We'll spin this around, and I'll show you how to put this together. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is this is the lower wheel assembly, and I got to put a hinge in the middle, right? And what I've got to do is leave room for the barrel assembly. So the hinge will go in like that, and there's the piece there. So I cut a kerf in this piece, and I'm going to just with a chisel remove some of that wood to allow the barrel. But I got to also remove some wood in this bottom piece to allow for the barrel. And I'm going to go ahead and do that over in the drill press. And that's the first thing. Okay, I set up a fence here, and I'm just going to make a notch here. And the reason I'm doing this is I have everything else set up in the router with a chamfer bit, and it's just easier to do it here. It doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to leave some room for the barrel. Okay, so basically here's that other piece with the kerf, the other part of the hinge, and I'm just gonna take a chisel and knock that out. Really nothing to it. Comes apart pretty easily. It's plywood. So basically here's the assembly. Here's the two pieces and the hinge. Now I have them on this angle. I think it's easier to mark it. And I'm gonna mark those holes. Some pilot holes. Okay. Okay, so basically I have the piece turned over, and what we're doing is we're just making sure that I put this wheel in a space that clears its surrounding area. So that one's good there, and I will just go ahead and kind of mark it. They don't have to be lined up 100% perfect, just as long as they clear. Okay. I'm over at the router table, and what we need to do is we need to relieve some areas. And I'm going to be relieving them with a chamfer bit. And the reason I'm relieving them for this one here is to allow room for the barrel of the hinge, right? And over here, I'm relieving some to allow this to clear real easy as it swings so it doesn't bind. So I'm relieving some of the back as well as some of the front, just so it makes it easier to swing out. And I'm just going to do it over here on the router table, and in there I have a 45-degree chamfer bit. Now, so my new table saw works really great at adjusting. And we're going to do these little chamfers here. So we're going to bring those to an area and relieve those. Now, I could do these by hand right here like this. But for an added piece of safety here, what I'm going to do is use one of these, right? Basically it goes in, grips on, it gives me a little more to work with, right? So as I go to make this, I'm not up so close, and I have a little more leverage and control. So let's go ahead and route that. Unclamp it. And there we go. Nice chamfer, right? I'll go do that to the other one and do all the other chamfers. Just, they are all done the same way. And I'll use this to make it a little safer. So now that I cut all those miters, I'm going to put the hinge side together, line it up, and place the hinge. And now I'm just going to go ahead and mark, just like I did with the other hinges. Okay, attach the hinge, put a scrap block here. Go ahead, drill a hole. Okay, these are just countersinks. And I'll drill through. Okay, we got two more things to do. We need to put a hole right here or drill a hole for the eye screw for the rope, as well as we need to cut an area out here like this. And what that area will do is clear the other hinge on the bottom piece. As this flips up, it would hit there, right? So we need to relieve that, right? And we can do that by just marking area here and an area here to relieve that. And I'll go ahead and cut that over at the bandsaw. Just need to drill a pilot hole. And start this. And this will just go in there, and I'll screw that on, and this will just clear like that, right? So what I'm going to do is just put a little glue. Right, just a little bit. Right. And I'll put a screw, and we'll just drive that home. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going to come across and I will tie this off, right? And I will feed in here, right? And come through. And I will tie that off there. Right. Okay. Okay, it's a little stiff. The other side's working better. So I think what I'm going to do is in this area, I'm going to actually wax it to help it slide out when we need it to. There we go, and it will drop down. Okay, that's pretty good. We can go ahead and move on. Okay, one of the things I forgot to do is right here. This is the bottom. I wanted to round this over when I was rounding over the legs, and I forgot to do it. So this step would probably be easier done at the router table. But what I'm going to do is just take my block plane and chamfer it slightly. Right? And that's just to keep it from splintering out. And I will get all the edges I can. All right. See? That's what I'm trying to prevent from happening when I'm moving it around. So, I just do that on all of them. Okay, so I just clamp this down, put it up here, evened it up. I want the overhang in the front. What that'll do is the drawers will come in and that'll prevent shavings from getting down in. So I'd rather have the overhead to the front and it's pretty flush in the back. And basically it's relatively the same on each side. I just kind of figured it out. Clamped it down. I'm going to drill a pilot hole up into the top. All right. And then I take a washer and a lag bolt. There we go. Go ahead, do the others. That's all. There's 4 of them. That's what will hold the top on. Okay, I took a scrap piece and I drilled the holes that will be for the hardware. And then I marked the center line of that, so it's in the center of the board. And then I can find center on the drawer this way as well as this way. Line it up. I can go ahead and drill the holes. Right? And then what I'll do is I'll drill a bigger hole on this side. And what that'll do is allow the bolt to go through. The bolts aren't long enough to go through both material easily. Half inch, it barely sticks through. So I'll relieve the back with a little bigger bit, and those should go in nicely. Okay, so there we have it. You know, it's got ample storage. It's not fine furniture, but it's functional furniture. It's pretty good. I will either get 2 more handles here, or I'll actually turn. Originally, I was going to turn them. Well, I don't know. I might go out and get 2 more and make them match. I went with these handles particularly. So if there is power cords or anything, nothing's going to get caught on them. It'll just rub over them. Benefit is this is really about 6 to 7 inches lower than it used to be. So the lathe is really at a proper height. Pretty good. So what I'll do is I'll pull the hardware off. And I'll put a coat of probably poly on it. And then what I do with a lot of my stuff is when I have a little bit of finish left over from finishing an actual project, I'll put whatever's left onto the workbench or on something and put a coat and just keep building up over time instead of wasting it. But it's nice. I'm going to be able to get a lot of this lathe stuff organized. I got to cut more of the pipes do a couple little finishing touches. But for the most part, I'm really happy with it. I think it's going to be a good addition to my shop. It's going to go over where my joiner is now. So it'll go over there. And the joiner is designed to go over there. I have an old TV sitting over there that I have to recycle. So the joiner will go over there, and this will go there. And with the wheels and everything, it's nice. It can be wheeled around pretty easily. So, I have to say, pretty happy with it. So, until next time, thanks for coming to my shop. Take care. Okay, once I got everything into this lathe station, all the tools and hardware, I couldn't really lift it to engage the wheels or disengage the wheels. It just got too heavy. So my solution was I took a 4x4 and a Harbor Freight bottle jack right here. And this just goes in. I go ahead and raise the whole thing with the bottle jack enough to disengage and engage the wheels. It works really well, and it is nice and stable. So I've been using it for about 2 months now, and it works great. I just gotta raise and lower it with the bottle jack, which actually makes it much easier. I think I spent 20 bucks on the bottle jack, so. Works good. Just wanted to let you know that I needed to go ahead and do that because of the weight. There's just no way I can lift it with one hand or even with two hands really and disengage the wheels. So, but it works really good.